What if everything you thought you knew about one of the most famous families in the world was about to be turned upside down? What if the story you've been following for years, every interview, every headline, every whispered rumor, suddenly came with a question mark so large that it made your heart skip a beat? 5 minutes ago, the internet erupted. Claims began to spread like wildfire. Shocking, heartbreaking claims. Claims so audacious that even the most seasoned royal watchers were left staring at their screens, mouths open, unable to process what they were reading. It started as a single tweet, then a screenshot, then a video snippet, and suddenly every feed, every comment section, every group chat was ablaze with speculation. The name Archie appeared, then Lilibut, and in a matter of minutes, millions of eyes were glued to devices around the globe, trying to make sense of the chaos. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The immediate reaction was disbelief. How could this be true? And yet, deep down, the emotional punch was undeniable. The stakes were not just political or public, they were personal. Two children, symbols of innocence, had suddenly become central characters in a story that most adults would find unsettling, even frightening. People began typing and retweeting, commenting and sharing, as if by sheer repetition alone could confirm the story's veracity. And here's the part that really got people talking. No one had actually seen the official confirmation. No statement from a palace spokesperson. No interview clip. Just a viral claim that swept across the digital world faster than any factual report could keep up. You may be asking yourself, why does this matter? Why should a story about one family's private life dominate headlines and social feeds to this extent? The answer is complicated, and it starts with understanding the cultural fascination with royalty itself. The British royal family, for decades, has been a source of fascination, envy, and intense scrutiny. Their lives are often treated as global property. Every choice, every comment, every smile or frown becomes part of a narrative that belongs to the public more than it belongs to the individuals themselves. And when a story involves children, the emotional stakes skyrocket. People react instinctively to protect innocence, to demand truth, to assign blame. That instinct was amplified tenfold in this latest whirlwind of claims. But let's back up for a moment and consider the speed at which this story spread. 5 minutes ago. Yes, literally 5 minutes. The internet was calm. Headlines were flowing at their usual pace, a mix of celebrity updates and international news. Then came the spark, a single post, a single assertion, phrased in a way that demanded attention. It didn't matter whether it was verified, because verification is slow. The internet isn't built for patience. It's built for immediacy. It's built for emotional resonance. And this post? It hit every mark perfectly. The wording was sharp, the timing impeccable, the subject matter irresistible. People clicked. They shared. They argued. They speculated. And all the while, the story grew legs. By the time mainstream outlets began to cover it, the narrative had already taken on a life of its own. Think about this for a second. Why do we, as a society, react so intensely to claims about lineage, parentage, and legitimacy? Part of it is historical. Royal families have long been symbolic vessels for larger cultural anxieties. The question of who belongs, who is legitimate, who carries the bloodline, matters in ways that transcend the individual. But part of it is human psychology. Stories of betrayal, secrets, and hidden truths activate deep emotional pathways. Even if the average viewer has no connection to the British royal family, the story triggers universal feelings of suspicion, shock, and, sometimes, schadenfreude. There's a fascination with the idea that even those at the pinnacle of society are vulnerable, fallible, and entangled in personal drama. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. This video is about claims circulating online suggesting a deeply personal, shocking situation involving Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and their children, Archie and Lilibut. Some people have interpreted these claims as fact. Others have dismissed them outright as absurd. And yet, regardless of whether they are true or not, the story has already done its work. It has captured attention, ignited debate, and set the stage for an emotional and cultural firestorm. That is precisely what we are going to explore today. Not just what the claims are, but why they exist, how they spread, and what impact they have had on public perception and the individuals involved. Consider this. The same story can be told in dozens of different ways depending on framing. One headline might emphasize heartbreak. Another might highlight scandal. A third might frame the story as shocking rumor. Each framing elicits a different emotional response. Each framing shapes the narrative in ways that the raw facts alone cannot. And in a situation like this, where ambiguity reigns, framing becomes everything. That's why it is so important to dissect not just what is being claimed, but how it is being claimed. Who benefits from the spread of this story? Who is harmed? And, crucially, how do we, as consumers of media, navigate the murky waters between fact, speculation, and viral storytelling? But the story doesn't stop there. The claims themselves are messy. Conflicting reports appeared within minutes. Screenshots circulated that allegedly showed evidence, only to be contradicted by other users pointing out inconsistencies. Some social media accounts claimed insider knowledge. Others insisted the posts were fabricated. By now, you may be feeling a whirlwind of confusion, and that's entirely understandable. This is the kind of story that thrives on confusion. It's a narrative built to pull people in, make them feel urgency, and provoke emotional reaction before clarity ever arrives. And let's not forget the role of silence. In situations like these, what is not said often becomes just as important as what is said. The absence of denial, the lack of an official statement, the strategic silence from those involved, all of it fuels speculation. People interpret every pause, every delayed response, every non-answer as confirmation. And this, more than anything, is what makes viral rumors so powerful. The human mind hates uncertainty, and in the absence of clear information, it fills in the blanks with stories that often reflect the storyteller's fears, biases, and hopes. At this point, you might be wondering, where does the truth lie? That is exactly what we are going to explore. Over the next hour, we will trace the origins of this viral claim, examine the evidence, or lack thereof, consider expert perspectives, and explore the social and psychological forces that allow a single post to ignite a global conversation. You'll see how misinformation spreads, how assumptions become accepted as fact, and why even seasoned journalists and royal commentators are often caught off guard by the speed and intensity of online speculation. But here's the most important question for you as a viewer. What do you believe? How do you separate fact from fiction in a world where attention often matters more than truth? How do you respond when a story challenges your assumptions, your trust, or your emotions? These are not just questions for celebrities or royals. They are questions for all of us living in the age of viral information. And the answers are rarely simple. As we begin this deep dive, keep in mind that every element of the story, every screenshot, every claim, every viral post, carries layers of context, history, and human emotion. And the deeper we go, the more you will realize just how complicated a single viral moment can be. One post can trigger waves that touch millions. One claim can spark conversations about family, loyalty, morality, and identity. And one story, 5 minutes ago, can change the way we see everything we thought we knew. But before we look at the origins, before we analyze timelines, before we try to separate rumor from reality, there's one thing you need to understand. The internet has already written part of this story for us. Millions of eyes, millions of opinions, millions of judgments, already layered onto the lives of people who never asked for it. And in that chaos, the truth often becomes the hardest thing to find. What happens when the world stops scrolling for a single post? When the normal rhythm of notifications, stories, and viral memes is suddenly replaced by disbelief, anxiety, and a creeping sense of panic. That is exactly what happened 5 minutes ago, when the first whispers about Archie and Lilibet appeared online. One post, one image, one claim. And suddenly, millions of people paused. Screens froze, hearts raced, and fingers hovered over keyboards as people tried to process what they were reading. It began innocuously, or so it seemed. A single user on a mid-tier social media platform posted a cryptic statement. No sources cited. No official confirmation. Just words designed to grab attention. Breaking. Everything you know about Archie and Lilibet is wrong. The truth is heartbreaking. Immediately, others began reacting, sharing, reposting, adding their own commentary. Within minutes, The post had been replicated across multiple platforms. The speed of its spread was astonishing, even to seasoned social media analysts. What had started as a single message in a quiet corner of the internet had become a global conversation in the blink of an eye. But why did people react so intensely? Why did curiosity instantly transform into a sense of urgency? The answer lies partly in the subject matter itself. The British royal family occupies a unique space in global consciousness. For decades, their lives have been a mixture of reality and performance, private moments and public spectacle. People feel invested in their narratives, as if the royals themselves are characters in a story that spans centuries. And when the story suddenly seems to include children, Archie and Lilibet, the stakes become intensely personal. Protecting innocence, demanding truth, and interpreting secrecy are instincts hardwired into our collective psyche. The claim, no matter how unverified, activated those instincts instantly. Observers began dissecting the post immediately. Every word, every punctuation mark, every line break was scrutinized. Was the phrasing deliberate? Did it contain hidden meaning? Some users suggested it was a leaked statement from a close insider. Others insisted it was a hoax designed purely for clicks and shares. Yet, in the heat of the moment, nobody stopped to check credibility. The emotional impact was too immediate. When a claim feels real, the human brain prioritizes reaction over verification. That's exactly how viral rumors operate. And this post was a textbook example. Within minutes, screenshots appeared. One user claimed to have captured a direct message allegedly proving the claim. Another uploaded a blurred image of a supposed document. And still others began piecing together timelines, photographs, and snippets from past interviews, trying to assemble a mosaic that confirmed the story. Each new contribution added fuel to the fire, and each new assertion, regardless of its accuracy, was treated as validation. The narrative began to take on a life of its own. By the time mainstream news outlets even noticed the social media surge, millions had already formed an opinion, and the story was unstoppable. Think about the psychology at play here. People respond to certainty, even if it's false. They respond to immediacy, even without evidence. And they respond to drama, especially when it involves children or figures they feel they know personally. In this situation, the blend was perfect. The post triggered fear, outrage, and a kind of compulsive curiosity that made it impossible to look away. Even those who tried to remain skeptical found themselves refreshing feeds, checking threads, and reading comments, just to make sure they weren't missing anything. Meanwhile, the original poster watched as their creation spread. Whether intentional or accidental, they had unleashed a viral storm. And the mechanics of social media ensured that every algorithm favored amplification over accuracy. Engagement metrics skyrocketed. Every reaction, comment, and share fed into an invisible loop, making the claim appear increasingly credible simply by virtue of visibility. The more people reacted, the more the platform promoted it. And the more it was promoted, the more people reacted. In the blink of an eye, a rumor had become a worldwide event. At the same time, chaos reigned in comment sections. Some users expressed heartbreak, while others demanded proof. Some accused the royal family of hiding the truth, while others accused the media of fabricating it. Every opinion amplified the tension. The emotional intensity was palpable, as if the audience itself had been drawn into the drama, unable to step back. And this is one of the most fascinating aspects of viral events. The story is not just in the content itself. It is in the response it generates. The post was the spark, but the reactions were the wildfire. But there was an added layer that made this moment particularly explosive: ambiguity. The claim was phrased carefully to suggest revelation without providing confirmation. The words were chosen to provoke curiosity, shock, and engagement. There was no direct accusation, no clear evidence, no statement from Meghan Markle or Prince Harry. And yet, the implied meaning was unmistakable. This is the power of carefully worded claims. They allow audiences to project their own assumptions, fears, and desires into the narrative. Suddenly, everyone was both consumer and co-author of the story. At this point, traditional media began to notice the spike. Journalists, social media analysts, and newsrooms tracked the spread of the claim in real time. The post had become a trending topic, dominating hashtags, and sparking discussions in live broadcasts. It had crossed the threshold from social media rumor into what felt like news. But here's the critical twist. By the time reporters started digging for confirmation, the narrative had already crystallized in the public imagination. The rumor had outpaced reality. And in situations like this, the rumor often becomes the dominant version of events, regardless of factual verification. Yet, even as the world reacted, there were subtle cracks in the narrative. Contradictory posts began appearing, suggesting alternate interpretations. Some alleged insider accounts were debunked. Screenshots were shown to be manipulated. Analysts pointed out inconsistencies in timelines. But these corrections moved far slower than the initial claim. By the time skepticism caught up, millions had already internalized the story. This is the paradox of viral information. Once a narrative takes hold emotionally, factual corrections often fail to dislodge it. As viewers, it's worth asking ourselves why this moment felt so overwhelming. Why did a single post have the power to make millions of people stop what they were doing, scroll through endless threads, and experience real emotional reactions? The answer lies at the intersection of celebrity culture, digital media, and human psychology. Royal families embody both tradition and fantasy. Social media thrives on immediacy and emotional engagement. And our brains are wired to react to uncertainty, especially when it involves children or perceived betrayal. The combination is combustible. And then came the first hints of escalation. Within the first 10 minutes of the claim going viral, influencers and micro-celebrities began sharing their own insider knowledge, adding layers of commentary that blurred the line between fact and speculation. Each new post drew more attention, more outrage, and more shares. The momentum was relentless. Algorithms, human psychology, and celebrity fascination had converged, and the result was an unstoppable viral storm.